everybody.
Hey,
Welcome
Evan.
to In Other Words, Lee, Jody, and my good friend Holly Mabery. How is everybody today?
Awesome. Hey, she's my friend too.
I'm sorry?
She's my friend too.
Oh,
No
our
fighting,
good
kid.
friend,
No
excuse
fighting.
me. Oh, okay.
She really likes me better.
Yes.
Yeah, and who could blame her?
So how is everybody doing on this fine and weird Wednesday?
I think Weird Wednesday is going to be the name of the day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm down with Weird Wednesday, definitely.
Yeah.
So before I get to the intros, I just want to mention, you know, the format of our show is to sort of dissect a word to keep us focused on a particular topic. And this week it's virtual, and we'll explain that in just a minute. But we sort of talked about before coming on, we don't want to pretend like we live in this silo where there isn't a real world happening around us, you know? So lots of weird, you know, sad craziness happening, from pandemics to protests to violence and all these other things. So we're all feeling that, and we might, you know, sort of veer into how that is affecting us and real estate in as much as we can. But we want to also take advantage of tackling this topic of virtual, because we have with us Holly Mabery, who is the designated broker in Arizona for eXp Realty, which is a virtual real estate company. And she's also the regional operations manager for eXp, so she knows a thing about virtual, so we want to talk about that. We also have Lee York from Texas with us. And we have Jody O'Brien representing New England as usual. Brent Lancaster is on assignment. He'll be back next week. And so, Holly, it's good to have you here.
I'm thrilled to be here. Thanks for the invite, guys.
So we have you in your natural habitat here, meeting with you virtually. So how does that
It's where
feel?
I live. Truly, it's where I live. So thanks for the opportunity in that respect.
So one of the things, just to kind of kick it off towards the topic of virtual, is, you know, you and I go back. I worked with you a lot, and we're friends, and we've done all kinds of stuff together. And when you moved over to eXp and went virtual, one of the things I was really interested in watching, because you're so high touch, you know, you're very relationship oriented and kind of and very boots on the ground. And I was interested in watching how you match that with operating in this virtual world. So can you just kind of tell us what you think of when the word virtual, and take it from there?
Honestly, when I hear virtual, I think opportunity, because it's another opportunity to connect in a different way. And I think, look at what we're doing virtually right now. And so we're connecting. I'm getting to spend time, you know, with Lee and Jody, which we normally wouldn't get to have this visit. And I think virtual is just another opportunity to engage and connect. And I think that's one of the things that I dig getting to do, is because I get to have that connection in a different manner. Also with virtual, and what's been really interesting is conversation, right? And so one of the things that I've learned is you have to be a more intense listener. And I don't know if you guys have noticed this, especially with the new Zoom boom, so to speak, that we've all enjoyed in the last, 90 days. We've really had to become better listeners. And that's a lot of times where we're so exhausted after a Zoom meeting or a Zoom class, because it's like, oh my gosh, right? But you've been so like on, and it's like, these are my people, yeah. I'm so tired. So I love virtual for that, because it's made me a better listener and being more focused on kind of the conversation at hand.
Yeah, that's so weird. We're all speakers. All four of us speak and are educators and so forth. And there's that whole thing about being on a stage and everything that comes with that. But there's something so weird about being on Zoom or in this platform that takes extra energy and fires all kinds of different sort of, I don't know, glands and physical properties of being on camera. Like, what's up with that? Is that right? Do you know what I'm talking about, Lee? Like, do you feel like there's this extra like performance factor?
Absolutely. It's a completely different skill set. You know, I mean, we talked about it before. I was using the Zoom platform to teach classes for quite a few years now, since like 2013, I think, is when we started. And immediately realized it's a different set of skills. And I think it boils down to all four of us are speakers that promote and thrive off of engagement, right? We want the people we're talking to, we want them to talk back, right? We want that engagement. And in this platform, or those like it, that requires a little more work on our part. You know, we got to step it up to make that happen. So sure.
Yeah. So Jody, try to convert that for me into realtor language. And now that realtors are, you know, that's a necessary tool in the tool bag. What does it take for a realtor to be successful in engaging with their clients and their team or their partners, whatever it might be, virtually? What do you think about that?
You know, it's funny what Holly said just a minute ago is that actually just what a realtor that I was interviewing today on a Facebook Live said to me is, I have to listen more. He said, I'm a person who tends to talk like a lot, and now I have to listen. So I think the virtual platforms actually can translate to you becoming a better realtor in that listening aspect. I would also say that another concept that Randy said to me is, he said, why was I insisting that people drive in? And Randy happens to be an agent in downtown Boston, right? So, I mean, we're not talking about pulling into an office, into a parking lot, you know, to meet him. You know, through the traffic, find a parking garage, pay to it just to come in. And they were insisting upon that. And he said, when I'm doing as much, if not more, business in this virtual world. And, you know, and he was one of the first adopters of social media. He's a millennial, he's, you know, ahead of the curve and et cetera. But even he realized that our real estate world was really quite transferable into a virtual world. That said, I'm going to tell you that I think, like anything, whether it's live or virtual or anything, I think we have to work at being engaging. Right?
Amen
I mean, we
to
were
that.
kind of initially at speaking. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And so Jody, you're standing up. And one of the things that I found that was so helpful for me, and I'll show you my parlor trick, is my standing desk. And now it's not working.
Yeah.
But it makes such a huge difference. So anytime, like when I start to talk or class or whatever it might be, like if I stand up, energy's up. And it makes a huge difference for me. And then, you know, you can totally like sink back down.
All right, I feel like I have to stand up now just to be like.
He also has his rising desk and that. Well, Holly, for me, it only took knocking my microphone off of my desk half a dozen times because I was doing, and this was way back. I, like Lee, have been using the platform I happen to use, GoToWebinar, since, you know, the early 2009, I think, or 2010, somewhere like that. And before we even were turning our video cameras on. But in order to be engaging, I started needing that energy myself, and I was smashing my microphone. And I realized, I need something I need a better setup than this. So I started calling this now my home studio instead of my home office.
Fancy.
It is fancy. I like it.
So what do you think are some of the challenges that people are facing right now? You know, it's like, hey, the world's opening back up, so now we're going to get back to normal and see each other and all that, but maybe not so much, or, you know, to what degree? So what kind of challenges do you see people facing right now?
Well, I think Jody just explained it. In certain instances, our expectation of what we can demand of clients is gone. Like, we have to meet them where they're at, and clients have moved light years ahead because now they've been taught to use these mediums, and they had to out of force of habit. So why aren't we?
But I want to be in charge. I want to be in control of everything.
You're so cute.
What happens
Yeah,
now?
that's wonderful.
I can't
I
do
love
that
that for
anymore?
you. Yeah, no. It really, I truly believe like where we're at and where we're headed is client customer service 2.0 or 8.0 or whatever level of Jumanji you want to be on. But that's really where we're at, is meet the clients where they're at, how they're at. And that's what's so awesome about being virtual or giving that option. One of my favorite realtors that I ever got to work with, her name's Ronnie, and she specialized in working with the deaf community. She was a speaking realtor, but she was was an instructor at the Arizona Sign Language Institute, and so she specialized in deaf clients. And what I loved was her use of virtual to communicate with her clients. And I saw that in 2010, 2011, and she was a master at it. And really meeting her clients there. So what I started to adopt was Google Hangouts. And what I loved about Google Hangouts is I could pull up the screen, my screen, walk through the client with the contract at the same time, and that way there was no misunderstanding.
Mm-hmm.
And that was that extra level of service that you get to provide, and Ronnie taught me that.
Right. What about and Lee, let's hear from you on this. How do you keep people together? You know, like I think I almost thought like, should we talk about unity or something like that today? You know, should that be the word? But you know, more than ever, it's so important to like bring people together and keep people together. So it's your team, your brokerage, your clients, all that. What are your thoughts on helping people stay together when they're only virtually together?
Well, first of all, I think we should always be using every tool in our toolbox. And at this time, I mean, we just even more so, right? So giving them opportunities, putting things out there, but sometimes we have to remind, you know, as managers, or even as agents talking with our clients, you know, we have to remind them of the things that they do better together. You know, give them reasons to get together.
Okay.
You know, they say two heads are better than one, you know, and I always think, well, you know, depending on the heads, but hopefully your team works great together, right? So giving them reasons, and if reminding them of reasons isn't jump starting it, then we need to think of a reason or make a reason, give them a task to get them started. They'll take the ball and run as soon as they see that first success.
Holly, isn't that that was like part of the original EXP platform as well, wasn't it? Is that like you have the soccer field or whatever it is. I love that entire platform, but besides the go to the office, go to the copier, ask you a question, etc., you have a place where people can be together by doing something other than actual work, correct?
Absolutely. So we, you know, EXP World, and we do call it looks like the Sims video game. And it's funny, some people are like, it doesn't look realistic enough. Well, what we found, because when I hold office hours, it's 9 to 4, you know, in my broker floor in EXP World. And if it was too realistic, it kind of freaked people out. And so having that cartoony type, you know, video game feel has really made a difference, because now it's more engaging. So we'll do scavenger hunts. We have 4th of July fireworks on the beach. So we do have a beach. We do have a lighthouse that you can climb with your avatar. We've got a pirate ship, which is awesome. We've got little speedboats that you can, you know, cruise all around. And then of course the soccer field. And when we had basically the quarantine start in May, or excuse me, March, we organized a EXP World Cup within EXP World. And so each state played one another. And then of course we're in different countries. So Canada played off against Australia, played off against the UK. So we had a soccer World Cup, and it was fantastic. And that's something that I love, that we come together. We just had our first virtual conference, because like many conferences, we were canceled, our spring convention. And so our developers created a conference center for us. And so we had basically, like you would walk into a normal large conference, you had the different breakout rooms, you had the large main stage, you had all of those things, but then we also had the vendor booths. And so you could walk in and talk to different vendors and have connections. And there were little spaces, we call them blue circles, where you could have one-on-one conversations or just be there together. And part of my job was helping lead a scavenger hunt. You know, it was a photo scavenger hunt just for people to have a little bit of fun. And so there's stuff like that that we unite each other or bring people together through fun. And that's one of the core values in the company, because if you take yourself too seriously, you have to dye your hair more frequently.
Yeah. Or just give up altogether.
I chose not to give up.
I'm not giving it. I am fighting it all the way down. I am not going down without a fight.
This is a problem that I cannot relate to.
Well, and I will tell you guys, one of the reasons, so this is my USA women's soccer jersey, and so I will go through team week, right? And it's like, we don't have sports right now, and I'm a big sports fan, so I'm like, all right, I'm going to represent every sport that I absolutely love. So I decided, like, this is one of the things that I pull people together on. I'm like, it's team week, wear your favorite jersey. And I know I may not get to see you in person, but this makes me feel better. And yeah, it's stuff like that.
All right. Well, so I want to take a turn a little bit here. Lee, with your professional standards background, Holly, same to you. You know, I've done mediation and being a broker. You know, and Jody, you have experience in this area of like disputes and bringing people together. And I feel like when we look out at just the world in general, right, or the country in general, beyond real estate, like, it's very divided right now. Tempers are high, emotions are high, people are angry. And then here we are in real estate. Our job is to get people under contract and then to the closing table. So I would like to talk a little bit about, and a lot of that is not in person now. It's like if you have a formal mediation, you sit down and all that. This is a virtual skill as well. What are you all thinking right now? What's on your mind as far as keeping people together when they may be angry or heated or mad or cranky or whatever in this landscape today?
Well, I'll say, you know, it's the same, it's the same skills that we use in mediation every day. And many of our agents are doing mediation. They're practicing good dispute resolution. They just don't realize it. Yeah. They've learned it organically as opposed to being taught in a classroom. But I do dispute resolution all the time, and the same system works with the agents working with clients or brokers to agents, you know, whatever. And it starts with that good listening that Holly was talking about. And, you know, recognizing what's there. You can't just gloss over how someone's feeling.
Right.
You don't have to agree. In fact, as a mediator, you shouldn't. You know, you're not going to agree with them. You're also not going to disagree. You're simply going to recognize how they feel and that has value. And once that's on the table, you can usually get them on track as to what is important and come to some consensus between the two parties. And that's in every dispute at every level. The system's the same.
What I love that you just said was giving people the opportunity to feel heard.
Right.
Because if they don't feel heard, it makes them angrier. And I think whether it's in a real estate transaction or one-on-one as friends or in the greater world as it is, if people don't feel heard and acknowledged for their concerns, it boils over. And so I think that kind of ability, and I call it a superpower, right? Yeah. Your ability to listen and recognize what somebody needs, that's right. A pretty cool superpower to have.
Well, and I would say, you know, pro tip, what you said, the number one way to make someone feel heard, to know that they've been heard, is to repeat it back to them. Tell them what you heard them say. Then they know they've been heard, and if you misheard, they have a chance to correct that.
Yeah, I'm glad that you added that second part, because I think that's really important. Sometimes people hear these like tricks of, you know, well, you say it back to them and it's comforting or something like that. But I think the real value there is to give me a chance to make sure that I said what I meant to say and you received it that way. You know, I think that's so important. Now I have an opportunity to restate, and communication, it's two ways, and so you're not going to get it right every time. Do you think we're going to see more? We don't. I mean, we don't even know what this afternoon is going to look like. But I mean, do you think we're going to see more like um, um, disputes in real estate transactions, or people with hotter tempers, or do you think any of that's going to roll into, you know, buying and selling houses? What do you guys think about that?
We already are.
Yeah, no, we are. And I will also say, whether you're actually seeing it in the form of disputes or not, substitute the word dispute with negotiations. And because that has always been a component of our business. For many of you, negotiations, because of the heat of your marketplace, have not been contentious. Those of us who have seen marketplaces be in less than ideal conditions have witnessed that contention. And, you know, Evan, you and I, in teaching the RENE course, many of those skills could actually be utilized today by really, you know, and Holly said it, Lee said it, listening to people, restating it. We teach all of those things in the world of negotiations.
Yeah.
Lee and Holly are saying we do that in the world of professional standards. And I'll maintain we could do that just plain out in the world today.
Sure.
You know, is have a better understanding.
Yeah, and I've been interested recently in the overlap between communication, dispute resolution, leadership, and negotiation. Like how much those overlap. There's a great book that actually Nikki Salgett recommended to me, the Council for the Arizona Realtors, Nonviolent Communication, and it really talks about communicating what you're feeling rather than projecting onto someone else, you know. And it I don't know, once you start to look at that stuff, and Paula brought up in the chat, I've heard her talk about this before, this LIMS, LIMS, which is, you know, when somebody's angry or upset or trying to, you know, to help them get what's on their mind. Listen, isolate, mirror, and solve, those 4 steps. So you actually listen, like really listen to what they're saying, and then isolate on what the problem or the issue is, and mirror, which is what you were talking about, Lee, saying it back, and then the solve, providing a solution. And I always love those little hacks where you have like an acronym to remember this stuff, you know.
Absolutely.
One other thing I want to mention.
I just put your book recommended in the chat for everybody.
Oh, thank you. One other thing I want to mention, Jody, you brought up RENE. One of the things we talk about in that course is venue for negotiation. I think this is with disputes. It's a great thing to point out that, like, you know, if you're texting back and forth with somebody who's upset or needs to be heard, like, get off of that and pick up the phone, or get on, you know, FaceTime or Zoom or somewhere where you can see them, you know, up the value of the communication, because you can miss
the death of a civilization will come via text. Sincerely.
Right.
Like, if you want to see anything blow up, particularly in a real estate transaction between 2 agents trying to, yay, I'm so happy, and then poof,
right,
that's where it is. Show me your text message. I'll tell you how your deal's going. I mean, it's going to be the death of our civilization. Yeah. So as a result, these things are for calling people. It's a novel concept, kicking it old school.
Right.
It's amazing. It's a paperweight, and it calls people. Who knew?
Well, Holly, I love to share the story on myself, and these guys all know it because I shared it after I first shared it with my coach, when an ed director responded to a query to me and said, we're booked until 2021. And this was early 2019. And I said to my coach, well, how rude was she? I mean, really just blowing me off. And I went on for like 5 minutes in my righteous indignation. And he finally said, are you done? And then he said, maybe she is. And I was like, what? He goes, maybe she is booked till 2021. I was like, oh yeah. and that, I mean, the emotions that created, the crazy, ridiculous anger on my part that created from what could have just been a simple statement of fact on her part, you know, was just totally blown out of proportion in that one little snippet of a conversation. It happened to be email, but it was so short it could have been a text.
I found, and one of my greatest things that I learned, and this came from Jim Sexton, my favorite question to ask is, well, help me understand. And I can be boiling mad, right? But I can't show it. I have my poker face and I'm like, help me understand. And that has made such a huge difference in kind of opening communication and really watching people work through their issues, problems, situation, where maybe that's not my circus, but I can totally watch the monkeys from my seat.
Right.
Yeah, Maybelle used the phrase a couple of weeks ago, helping them build the bridge, you know, your role was to build the bridge for them.
Bridge, yeah.
Yeah, that's such a great, she was fantastic, by the way. What an interview or conversation.
Yeah, she's great.
So,
All
Evan,
right, so
can I ask my Holly question?
we're out of time.
It's been killing her for weeks.
Yeah, so a long time ago when we first started seeing virtual tours, like I remember initially they were these awful, awkward videos of somebody walking through a house. And then pretty soon a virtual tour, the standard became what I think of really as a slideshow with some music around it, okay? But in today, ever since COVID, right, we're starting to hear this term virtual showings. And I feel like there is a significant difference between virtual showing and virtual tour. But I see those things being exchanged, the terminology uses if it's all the same. And I've even seen it, like NAR just hired a third party to do some studies. And in that survey, you know, the good news is NAR didn't tell them what answers they wanted. That's pretty clear, right? The bad news is they surveyed as if a virtual tour and a virtual showing were the same thing. So I would like to hear your thoughts on if I'm right, are they two different things? And how do we distinguish that with the consumer?
I think beauty's in the eye of the beholder. And what I mean by that is the consumer is going to use a lot of different terms to say the same thing, right? But they're also going to use this many different terms incorrectly. Thank you, HGTV. That's what they've given us, right? And so as a result, I think when I look at virtual showings, yes, that's me maybe on Zoom and you are facilitating a walkthrough and it could be interactive. It could be something where I'm saying, hey, would you go back to that bedroom and show me the closet in the upper left-hand corner? I thought I saw something. That could be considered a true virtual showing because you'd be doing that with a buyer if they were there. Oh, I want to go back and look at that closet again. Now, you can also have, guided tours that are more evergreen, where it's like, hey, well, it's like Cribs at NTV. Welcome to my office, right? This is fantastic. Come on in. And you can walk people through. That would be more of a virtual, like, yay, it's a party. Welcome to this house. I think very much to your point, the virtual slideshow that we all grasped onto because it was the cheapest version of how to showcase a property, but it was like slightly animated enough that it picked up with Google and the search engines to allow for higher SEO, and there was music. So it was pretty, right?
Music's good.
I think that is almost becoming like the 8-track cassette of the 70s. And so now we've kind of jumped ahead. I think we might still see some of that guerrilla style walkthrough stay with us because we're so used to now YouTube. Our 13-year-old son, he had a YouTube channel at 8 with followers. I couldn't get followers for my channel, but he had followers. And all he did was melt beads. He's like, all right, people, we're going to melt beads together. You ready? I'm going to make this thing. Get on. And that's what he did. And you're like, what are you doing? And
We may need to hire him.
right. And now he's 13. And I'm like, you still doing YouTube? And he goes, I'm thinking about it. I'm like, all right, you moved on. You got sponsors. What's up? And so those are the kinds of, I think we're so used to this, me videoing myself, everybody's got some sort of gimbal S move, selfie stick, whatever, that has taken the woogity out of those videos. So I think that opportunity is before us in real estate to embrace the now, embrace the technology in a way that your sellers are proud of showcasing their house. I think that's probably the biggest thing.
I was hearing Nobu Hata speak earlier this week, and he was talking about his wife Shay, and she does all kinds of analytics on all the stuff that they put out. And he said that she's getting really a lot of traction on these short 30-second like quick look videos where it's no talking. It's not the like, hey, I'm at 123 Main Street, and in Nobu style, he's like, just stop that. They don't want to hear you talking, but saying that how much success they're having in terms of hits and views on these little 30-second previews. So
think of it. I mean,
I'm likely to watch that.
Yeah, we used to sit and watch a whole movie, and now we all stream stuff. Because if there's commercials, like I can watch an hour show in about 35 minutes because I'm fast forwarding through the commercials. Or if I get to a part, I'm like, this is lame. I've just moved through it.
Right.
And that's the same thing when we're looking at, I'm pointing to my other screen, by the way. So online, as you're scrolling, it's like, 30 seconds, I can invest 30 seconds. And that's why you'll see a lot of ads will actually, promote, they'll have that break after the first 25 seconds. They've hooked you,
mm-hmm.
and now you want to come back. It was interesting. So I was in radio before I got into real estate. And one of the things that they taught us, not in school, but like in getting ready for stuff, was to prep the audience because you couldn't see it. It was all auditory. And it's like, I'll see you in 60 seconds. Mm-hmm. I meant commercial break. But as a result, it was like, I get the weather in 60 seconds. I can hang on for that, type of thing. And that would be the same as you're priming the pump for your online audience.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. It's so like the pay. I know everybody knows about attention spans and all that, but it's so weird that like, you're scrolling through videos, and if it's 30 seconds, like, okay, I can invest that. Meanwhile, you're going to spend like hours flipping through thousands of things,
5 miles,
yeah.
5 miles in your scroll.
It's right?
Yeah. It's like, I just want those steps, man. I want to feel 5 miles of steps.
Right.
So Evan, Paula has asked, what do we all think about the best connections created virtually? Examples.
The best connections for what?
Virtually, and she wants examples.
Oh, like connecting with other people?
She just says best connection. So yeah. I'm guessing people, clients,
right.
customers.
I'd say be yourself.
All of us. Ooh.
Truly, if you are not yourself, like if I tried to put on airs, and Paula knows me, so I can say this, that I am like a prima donna and I totally got my nails done and I have this hair and I'm wearing these heels and they're and you guys are like, that's not Mabery, she's in a sports jersey, right? And so then people see me in person and they're like, why are you in flip-flops? Where are the Louis Vuitton? This didn't work. So as a result, what we're finding in making connections is people are previewing us, especially in the last 90 days. So your social media like persona, and I see Patrick Lynch has been in here. I haven't met Patrick in person. He and I've had connection via Zoom. We've had connection via the world. I can't wait to hug him in person because all we've done is this. Mm-hmm. And so I think those are the things, like I've gained clients by just kind of being myself online and posting things that not super personal, but like happy, like, yay, these are good moments. And I think when you're yourself, that's how people are attracted to goodness. It's like, go towards the light, and that's what people are looking for.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know like some of the things that you've done, Holly, to connect with people, and you were doing that coffee, coffee in the morning for a while there. And I know everybody was always looking forward to that every morning, just to have that connection. You talked about like your soccer field and everything in the world. What other sorts of connections? And this is for Lee, Jody also. If I'm an agent right now saying, okay, how do I connect with more people virtually? Any other ideas or examples to share?
So I'm going to share. I happen to be a huge lover of Instagram, not necessarily a user myself. I'm sort of sitting there still lurking on the outside in some respects myself. And there are some people that I don't even know why they're in my feed, frankly, because they are just there to be paid influencers, which is fine. I don't necessarily have any engagement or connection with them. And there are other people that I have followed since they were first a blog and now a podcast and on Instagram. One of those examples is Young House Love, which is Sherry and John Petersnack. And they are just truly engaging because they, as sort of topping on what Holly said, they're always authentic. Even if they're crazy, they're always authentic. And the other thing is, no matter what the paid or not paid version, they're always giving me valuable information that I want. So I think that the value is the second thing that creates that connection with it, that, building your tribe, so to speak, to use that Seth Godin term, of people that want to hear your information.
Okay, cool. And who did you say that was?
John and Sherry Petersnack, and their blog, podcast, and Instagram is called Young House Love.
Young House Love.
Yep.
Okay. I have some other examples. This past Friday, Sean Carpenter has the show that he does every week, Lost Lyrics.
Oh my gosh, that's so fun.
It's so much fun, and he's been doing it for a while now. And I gravitate toward music stuff, so that one's really fun. A great way of building connections that has nothing whatsoever to do with real estate, right? But you're relating to those people. I mentioned before how Carlton was doing the Name That Tune in his basement with playing the bass or on his keyboard. I thought that was a really cool way of connecting. Dale Chumley is doing, he's like spinning, doing his, like so into 80s music. Now he's DJing on Twitch. And he's always trying, in fact, I think he was doing one tonight or last night, I'm not sure which, for Inman, as like a get together after the Inman Connect. And I love those. Like I said, to me, though, I relate to those as, music and an opportunity to connect, and it just happens to be real estate people.
I think what you brought up, and Jody, you also, is it wasn't necessarily focused on solely real estate, but it was something valuable, but also showcased something of somebody's personality. And I think that becomes the extra win, because people are always looking for a way to connect with you more personally. It's like, I'm going to trust you with my family and the most expensive thing I'll ever own. Can I trust you? And do I know you beyond, hey, will you be my realtor? And so that becomes really cool for us to engage and connect. And I think what I loved about the coffee talks was that for me at a time, and I'll probably bring it back, but that for me at a time was something I needed so badly because I missed my tribe. I needed those people, and to see that interaction, but we weren't going to talk about real estate. I was not going to talk about the virus. I was going to talk about my friends. We were going to talk about movies, and we were going to talk like we were meeting for coffee or meeting for a cocktail and just visit for a little bit. And what I loved is it was evergreen because my aunt totally enjoyed those. My people who were not in real estate but saw the weirdness of all of our real estate tribe that were like, those people are awesome. I'm like, yes, we are. And that made a huge difference. I didn't want to get too much into the minutia of the time. It was more about the people. Mm-hmm. And I think anytime we focus on people in how we're doing our things, makes a difference. That's the connection. And so one thing that you might consider, Paula, because I just did this in my office and it made a huge difference. We did a video contest, 30-second loving where you live, right? And it was so fantastic and magical because you only had 30 seconds and people freaked out on it. But the videos then got posted. They had to post them to our internal workplace Facebook page. And we saw people living their lives and showcasing what they love. And that could be something that you could absolutely do within your community. Show me your favorite whatever it is, and people can do that by a photo. They can a photo contest on Instagram and use a certain hashtag. You could offer, just ways to connect and invite people in. You could do it with businesses. Tell me your favorite local business and why. Could be a great way to showcase what's going on in your community and what people love, and have it shared on your business Facebook page.
Well, especially right now, how great would it be to go on and see the streams of videos that you're seeing be positive and, proud and
Yeah.
about your community with positive light on it. I love that. Lee, what you got for us?
Yeah, so listening to y'all, that was all good stuff. It makes me think I might have misunderstood the question, but I'm going to give my answer anyway.
Okay.
Right? So that's how I roll. But so my favorite connections during this time have, and I'm not sucking up to anybody because I don't have to, right?
All right.
Tell me how you feel, and then go for it.
The best connections I've made is us doing this web show, and not only each other, but the guests we've had. I mean, I feel like I already knew Holly. We were friends. I love me some Holly. But like we've had other guests that I knew, but not as well.
Right.
And now I feel more of a connection, and I'll be more comfortable when I do get to see them face to face again. Same thing with like some of the little online cocktail parties I did. It was people where we were acquaintances. We knew each other well enough to end up at the same cocktail party, but we didn't really have a rapport. And now I do. Now I know these people better. And again, I'll be more comfortable, approaching them and starting a conversation when I see them in person, right?
Right.
And the other thing would be with my clients. Because in the past, everybody was so busy and things were moving so fast. We would email, we would text, occasionally we would talk on the phone. I was good to keep in touch, but I wasn't good to keep in tune, right? And now I've got time, maybe not a lot of time, but enough time. I'm making time to call them on the phone or to reach out and set up a Zoom or. And the questions are not about, for me, are not about real estate, but they're, how is your family? How are your parents or how, whatever, last time we talked and I'm really getting more in depth with that than I used to. I do hope my clients aren't listening right now, because I used to would call people and go, you know what? I was on my way to an appointment, but I wanted to check in with you because I wanted to have a limit on how long that conversation was going to be, because I don't have time to be on there all day, right? So I was making my excuse to start out with, I'm not going to be that person anymore, right? I've learned. I'm going to be more in tune with them. So that's my answer. I hope Paula likes it, because I like politics.
Well, I like it, so there.
Yeah.
I always, I'm always name dropping Larry Kendall because there's so much that I've learned from like ninja selling and his stuff over the years, but he calls it in flow, like being in flow with people. It's not just that they're in your list and you know each other, but are you in flow with them? Are you thinking of one another? So in tune, in flow makes me think of the same thing. And I definitely felt what you said about making an excuse to get off the phone at the beginning, Not that I've ever done that with anyone, but I can relate to what you're saying.
You've done it with me. What do you mean?
Hey, Evan, just a quick shout out based on Holly's mention of the videos reminded me. So as many of us did yesterday in attempting to take some time during the day to learn some things yesterday and really understand some of the situation better, I found something that I really wanted to give a shout out to in our industry that was really cool. So the National Association of Real Estate Brokers, that many of you are familiar with, they did a contest last year for the 50th anniversary of the Fair Housing Act, and each of their local divisions submitted some videos, and they're on their website, and there are some really good information. And I was surprised. I mean, I've been teaching fair housing since I, was, first started in teaching, and there were things that I was learning through that. So I just want to give a shout out for everyone. There's a great place to learn some information.
Okay, can you give the link again, or where
Yep,
to go?
it's the National Association of Real Estate Brokers, so it's NAREB, NAREB.com, and you'll find it on their sites, I believe, under the tab events. And it's
All right,
the
thank
50th
you.
anniversary of fair housing. I'll write it in the
Thanks
comment.
for sharing that.
All right.
And Holly, thank you. I'm so glad you were with us today.
I love it. Thank you guys. This is an honor.
That was a good conversation. I really enjoyed it. Great to have you here. And thanks to Paula and Patrick and Tiffany and everybody else who was joining us in the chat. That's cool. Paula already told us she's going to come on, so I'm going to get with her afterward and hold her to that, because we want to get her in front of the camera.
Heck yes.
And hey, y'all, don't forget to like and share.
Like and share.
Like and share.
Let's do that too. Next week, we'll be back at the same time. We have John Mabery next week. Yes?
Right on. That's awesome.
I'm really looking forward to talking to him, and, him being in the Minnesota area,
And the word is empathy.
and our word for the week is empathy. So, he's past president of the National Association of Realtors, and he's going to have a lot to share. So we're looking forward to that. It's great being with you all. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and we will see you all next week.
Later.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Stay safe. Be kind. Stealing Evan's words.